Welcome to In Real Time, where we as Heights Church are inviting you in for real conversations about leading people, organizations, and change in the new normal. We're hoping that our real discussions about our church's journey will help you as you reimagine and rebuild yours. Craig here, and welcome to In Real Time, where we're having real conversations about leading people, organization, and change. And this week, we are going to be doing part 2 of the online campus. But before we move into that, please hit your like, subscribe, bell notification, and hey, refer us to a friend because we want to be as helpful as we can to as many people and churches that we possibly are able to do. I'm joined by 2 co-hosts today. They were with me for part 1. So why don't you 2 introduce yourselves? I was going to call you something, but I'm not going to do it. Just go ahead.
Was it good?
Discernment. No, it wasn't all that good. It was like I'm filtering it in real time. So it's better that I didn't say it. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
would have been fun. We would all laugh.
Awesome. Well, my name is Tim, and one of my responsibilities is the online campus. So.
Yes. So it's necessary. It's necessary that you're here. It's
yes,
good.
It is.
All right. Good.
And I'm Ryan, and I still wear the same shirt.
Yes, you do.
And I'm the worship pastor here.
Yeah, we need to talk to Narissa about
I don't have a budget with her.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Anyway, yeah, sorry.
So part 1, we talked about basically what's the value of the online campus. And we pretty much took that whole episode to talk about it. There's a lot there. And I know we gave people lots of things to think about when we're actually trying to determine the value of an online campus or online ministry of a church. We dove into a lot of things that we've wrestled with over the last 3-4 years, and then really where we land today.
Right.
But can you give us a quick recap of that if people didn't hear that? Because we are, for episode 2, assuming that you see some value and you're interested in knowing more about how do you do this and what are you guys learning?
Yeah. So, if you're landing on this podcast as the first one about our online church, I would encourage you to go back, listen to it, because it help you determine if this is a value for you.
Right.
Because that's the other thing too.
Because it's not for everybody.
Right. That's one of the things that we talked about. It may not be for everyone, but for us, we saw incredible value. We realized that every view was connected to a person and or families, and that's how they're gonna. Consume the gospel. That's how they're going to receive, the word of God. And so we saw that as a value. We see a value as they're literally contributing to like our outreach programs. I mean, they're finding community. They are participating. They're finding hope. They're finding freedom.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people would argue that, but the reality is we know that to be true because we're having those conversations with those who are part of our online campus.
Yeah.
We also see value in the fact, which we're going to unpack a little bit today, in regards to those who are actually engaging more in their faith because they have an option.
Yes.
When they can't be with us in person.
Right.
And that's something new that the church is deciding. And when I say church, not just Heights Church, I'm having conversations with churches across the country, and that's a thing.
That's a thing, yeah. There's a number of people I know of. I didn't think about it in the first episode, but they work retail, so they're always working Sunday mornings.
Yeah.
Hey, they don't have a choice.
That's right.
But they do have a choice if they're going to encourage their desire to walk with Jesus, and they choose to be part of our online campus because of that.
Yep.
And so there's a lot of people that are work keeps them from, or other reasons, caregivers, lots of things. So we unpacked that in episode 1. And we realized that for us, we choose to make online campus 1 for 1. So if you're here in person, we count you as 1 person. If you're here on the online campus, we count you as a 1 person. We believe you are fully here engaged.
That's right.
That's right. So we, again, unpack the reasons why in episode 1. But for episode 2, we want to move past that and ask some other questions. And so the first question I would say is, what do we know? What do we know about online? We don't know everything, but we do know some things.
Yeah.
And we're encouraged by what we know. So what are some things we know?
Well, like I mentioned, I want to just dive right into that person who we call them hybrid, the hybrid church or the
hybrid church. Yeah.
It's a thing. And I know sometimes like people will maybe, let's just assume because it's this video or this podcast that in your past the need, like that's a real thing. And that's not something you're debating. But if we can lend something to it across the country, churches are experiencing this, what's been labeled the hybrid church. It is someone who will show up in person, but also will show up online when they're unable. Their shift changes.
Right.
They're on vacation.
Yep.
A lot of people, don't want a vacation from church, though they're on vacation. They'd love to still be engaged with their local church.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
it's good.
And so this gives them the ability. My wife and I I've taken this iPad on vacations with us, and I don't tune in because I'm a pastor and you guys expect that to be a thing.
Right.
But my son plays he's on your team. He plays the drums.
That's right.
And he's a high school student. And as mom and dad, we don't want to miss that.
Right.
And we don't want to miss being in community with our people because we're on vacation. We've watched church from a campsite. We watch church from the cruise.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
My parents.
I've watched it from the cab of my truck driving back from Texas to see my mom who was having open heart surgery.
Correct.
Yeah.
So there you can paint it
And
any
cried
way you
my
want.
eyes out.
Right.
Had
So
a
there's this
blowout.
hybrid. And when I have talked to these people, especially ones of our church, what they're saying is like, actually, I'm engaging more than I did before. Because if I couldn't make it in for whatever reason, I'm tired, I woke up late, I have a shift.
Yeah.
You fill in your own blank, right?
It's good.
They're saying, well, what I do know is I can open up TV, laptop, iPad, phone,
good.
and I can tune in. So they're actually getting more engagement.
Yeah.
And so that's what we do know. And
We do know that's
I've
true.
talked to online pastors and directors from different parts of the country, and they're all saying the same thing. The hybrid is here to stay.
Yep. Yep.
Absolutely.
It's a thing.
Yeah.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
once we now know what we know, why would we let go of it?
Right.
We
Exactly.
wouldn't.
Yeah.
We wouldn't. Yeah.
Yep.
What else do we know about the online church and how it's impacting us as a community here?
Well, we know it's impacting the individual life. I
Yes.
think I mentioned this our last episode.
So we're seeing real transformation.
Real transformation. Ryan mentioned it. We're seeing every weekend, we're having people approach pastors on staff saying, I've been with you guys online. This is my first time on campus.
Yeah.
This was an amazing experience.
Yeah.
I feel like I know you.
Yeah.
Like they didn't have to get used to anything when they stepped on campus.
They know what
That's
to
right.
expect.
Yeah, and we're not
Yes.
using our online campus as an on-ramp to get people on campus.
Right.
But that we see that often.
No.
Right.
And so it's a value.
Yeah.
And we know that.
Yeah.
And so what a great way, because we have people drive past our church every single day and wonder, what's going on in there?
Yeah. What's up with that?
Now we know that they check us out online. They experience who we are, what we do. So when they step through, it's like they're not meeting strangers.
That's right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which they may not have ever stepped in here, but they're willing to do it from the safety of their own home or device.
Yeah.
And they're willing to take that step
Yep.
and then realize, they're not a bunch of weirdos. These are people I actually could connect to.
Yeah.
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 And they want to connect to.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that now they will come to an in-person. So you're right. I hear this constantly. In fact, almost because I meet all the visitors after service. If they come up and talk to me, we do this every week. We invite them to come say hello. And every one of them, I will ask them, how did you find us? And online is almost entirely a part of their stories. Like I'd say 98 out of 100, they came online first.
Right.
And even if a friend invited them, they still watched us online before they came to the in-person.
Right.
Don't we do the same thing before we go out to eat?
Yeah. We look at the
We
reviews.
look on the reviews. We look online. We
What
check
is the
them
menu
out.
like? Yeah.
And then we
Yeah.
make our decision.
Yeah.
Well, that's what online, that's again, we just live that's just Western culture where,
Yeah.
again, a lot of people, they want to know what they're getting into.
Yeah.
You know, because it's one thing I remember years ago hearing from a class that a lot of people make 30 decisions on like whether they know it or not when they walk onto a campus.
Yeah.
They're looking at the feel of the campus. They're looking at the engagement with the people. They're listening to the music. They're like listening to the message or getting a feeling of the staff.
Yeah.
But you can do that for the most part, not everything, because it's one thing to watch online,
Yeah.
and it's another thing to be in person. But
Yeah.
but they want to know, okay, what are we about?
Yeah.
I've been approached at the gas station by this really tall dude. I didn't know who he was, and I was like, "Can I help you, sir?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "No, I just wanted to come say hi. I watch you guys online." I'm like, "Are you kidding me? That's amazing."
That's
Yeah.
happened to me, too.
Like it's just like you
So
never know
cool.
what to expect. But
Yeah.
again, like that's the nature of church nowadays.
That's right.
In the U.S. and in
right.
Western church it is the first impression.
Yeah.
People want to know, what
That's
are you
right.
about? What is this church about?
Yeah.
And let's think about this from the perspective of a fisherman, okay? Because we're fishermen. That's what we're supposed
Jesus
to be doing.
called his disciples, yeah.
If you want to attend church, you already do. So the people who are coming to us who are new really fall into two categories that I see anecdotally because they tell me their story after each service, why they're there. They're there because either they moved into the area and they've been looking for a new church they want to engage in.
Yeah.
And so that's their story. And so, of course, they're looking and they're visiting. And, of course, if there's an online experience, then they're going to look at that because they want to know, yeah, okay, that's definitely not for me. Or, hey, that might be for me. All right, so that's one. They moved here. They were already attending church. So the transfer growth, if you will.
Right.
And then there's this other segment who don't attend church. They haven't attended church either in years or at all. In fact, the amount of people who tell me, yeah, I've never attended church, but I've got God questions. And so now I want to know.
Yeah.
And maybe they came with a friend. Often they do. They start asking those God questions to them. And so because of that person's now interested. Well, the online gives that person now the chance to tune in, experience us together. We get to be a part together. And then they're deciding, oh, that's a safe place. I can go. Well, again, and I would say, well, if that's our mission field.
Right.
That's the people we're looking for, and they want that option. Why would I not give it to them? Because if I take that option away, there's some people who would assume, well, they'll just come in person. But what I do know is most of them won't. That's not what they're going to do.
Right.
They're going to either not come at all, or they're going to find a place that does have an online option so that they can see it ahead of time.
Right.
Because there's a lot of things that culture says about us as churches.
Yeah, we haven't.
Negative.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
They have to overcome that before they will attend.
Yep.
When they see us and engage with us, they realize, wait, those things I've been hearing aren't true.
Right.
That's a win.
Absolutely. it is.
That's only going to be possible.
Right.
Right.
Through somebody saying that and finally convincing them, okay, I'll go, or you get to experience it yourself.
Right.
Let's watch. Let's be a part.
Yeah.
They do, and boom.
Yeah.
Now they're open to hear the gospel from us.
I love that you said that because the church as a whole, and when I'm talking church, I'm talking Big C Church, we have messed up a lot. We have. And we need to own that, and we need to understand that a lot of people have experienced abuse from church.
Yes.
Or I've heard of stories of abuse happening at church.
Yeah.
So I don't blame people if they don't want to come just from a person inviting them. They're like going to be like, yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I've heard about this whole organized religion thing.
Right.
Not interested.
Right.
But if we can at least still be the church, like where we're at, and just present the gospel and give a good insight of what we're about and what we believe, then I think online church is so valuable to that.
Yeah.
To helping someone recover. Actually, what's interesting, I wasn't planning on sharing this, but I've had so many conversations of people with church hurt before they came back to be fully in person.
Yeah.
I know for a fact they were watching online because they would tell me. They would say, hey, Ryan, like I didn't make it to church today, and I'd be like, that's fine. but we watched it online and we loved it. And, we're just, we're going through things right now. And I'm like, that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. As long as you're being fed with the word of God and you're finding community somewhere.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What else could I want?
Yeah. And our response, my response is, hey, good for you.
Good for you.
Because it's one for one.
That's right.
We see the value.
Oh,
Thanks for being part of Heights Church with us.
Absolutely.
And now they don't have to feel condemnation because they attended online. It's like, no, because if they're not doing that, they might not be doing anything. Mm-hmm. And I know Jesus can work through them, through our online campus.
And we got to erase the stigma around online church. A lot of people say like, oh, it's a necessity out of convenience. Well, so when is like you guys were saying, when has convenience been a bad thing?
Yeah.
We live with AC units.
Yeah.
We have our phones. We can make phone calls.
Yeah.
Right. You're probably watching this on a device out of
Right now.
convenience,
Yes.
right?
Right.
Yeah.
And
it can change your mind.
It can change your mind. But I think as churches, we need to erase the negative stigma around it because it is an option now. Like you said, the hybrid is here to stay.
Yeah. And people are not going the opposite direction of this. The church, if we embrace it, it becomes an opportunity.
Yeah.
And I go back to years ago. I wasn't around for this, but I was talking with a gentleman who was actually a part of the early Billy Graham days when he was doing the stadiums. Now, arguably, I don't know anybody today who bashes Billy Graham. He's like the most respected Christian of the last generation that I can think of.
Yeah.
At least in that category, right? He's in that debate. And as they were telling me the story about how many churches were against him and said, that's horrible. It's a terrible thing. It's not what we've always done. Stop filling stadiums and winning people to Jesus. Right. I mean, I'm just thinking, what?
Yeah.
People literally trying to shut him down from sharing the gospel message.
Yeah.
And filling up stadiums to talk about Jesus.
I did not know that.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
But it was new. It was different. There was so much we didn't understand about it. But he saw value in it. And I think that's the key here for us. I get people are asking the question, what's the value of it? How does it impact the church in this generation? I get all that. But listen, we all came up against that with radio. What's the value? Well, obviously it was a lot because there's a whole lot of money been poured into radio stations that are sending the gospel message into states, countries that will not allow the gospel in it. Right. And yet millions of people have come to faith in places like China, Iran, because of those radio stations. So obviously there's value.
Yeah.
And we learned early on it's worth the value, is putting money behind it. And so when you see that, you're like, okay, I get it. But you got to ask the question, what's the value?
Right.
What's the value? The gospel message.
Well, that's what we said. When we get back to the question of what do we know about online church?
Yeah.
We know there is value there.
There's value
and
there.
And when I say that, if a church chooses not to go that route, I'm not saying, you're wrong. I'm just saying we know if you choose and it's right for you to pursue having an online presence, whatever that looks like. Yeah, there is. We know that we can. We've had the conversations. Yep. We know that we can measure it. It has value. Yeah. We know that the hybrid is allowing people to have more engagement in their faith than they did before we had an online presence. Yeah, So we know it's effective.
We know it's effective.
We know that there is a hybrid community out there. And we know that there's not only just a hybrid community, there's a community that solely engages in church. Yeah. Online only. Yeah. For whatever reason.
Right.
Yeah.
Health reasons, scheduling,
and we don't have to sign
travel.
off on their reason.
No,
we
don't
need to be legitimate or for us to count them.
I don't care.
I don't have to be that.
No, I don't care what your reason is.
No, I'm not the policeman.
No,
not my
This
business.
is between you and Jesus.
Right.
Yeah.
Engaged.
All I know is that we have available to us a tool that makes the gospel available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, at almost anywhere around the world.
Yeah.
And so what I know is
well said.
That's worth it for us
Yes.
to walk that road
and
to make it available.
Okay, so I want to say one more thing about this, because I've also heard people say to me, well, if you're watching online, that just proves that you're not engaged. And this kind of goes back to the question of what value do you see? But I really think it does answer the question, what do we know? What it tells me is when somebody's watching, I know that person actually is engaged. Mm-hmm. And it's worth counting them. Mm-hmm. If there's a gentleman, which I know there is in every service, a woman or a man or a teenager who is there because they were dragged there, they don't want to be there, mm-hmm. they might not even be listening to me, mm-hmm. but they're there, present, sitting. Mm-hmm. Do we count them?
Yeah.
They're in our attendance number, aren't they?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yes, they are.
Yep.
So unless we're going to go around and give everybody a survey and actually a quiz to see if they were really listening, or are they engaging, or are they singing, or are they even a believer?
Give them a test.
Yeah.
Then to the in-person, then I just think at some point we got to say, guys, you know what? We're making this too hard.
Yep.
We're making this too hard. Mm-hmm. There's a value here, and we know that, so let's lean in. So that's what we know.
Yep.
So the other thing would be, I guess the question is, what do we don't know? What is it that we're still trying to figure out about online?
Are we just talking big vision here? Are we talking like
big picture?
Big picture.
Some of the small things too that we're chasing.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got a bone.
I think for me, one of the things that I think, again, we just live in a day and age where you have so many streaming services, you have so many options to watch things, to be engaged with, and people are becoming more and more inclined to just selecting a few, right?
Yeah.
The library out there is huge. It's big. Whether you want to watch churches online or you have Netflix, it's massive. There is a fatigue when it comes to all of this content, if you think about it, right?
Yeah,
so I think for me, one of the things that I think would help churches, like if you're wanting to pursue online and wanting to pursue an online presence, you have to ask yourself, okay, what is the value? But okay, what product are you putting out there? Because you're going against a lot of churches not against. I don't want to say we're competing. We're not.
Right.
But there are a lot of churches that have been doing this for a minute, and there are a lot of churches that are just getting their foot in the door, right?
Yeah.
So, find a goal, something attainable, right? Because you want to put out a product that's going to help bring engagement with your congregation. I think for us, one of the things we don't know is, I know we're wanting to make improvements on our audio. Yeah. For our worship piece, which I know is going to be really helpful. I mean, Josh already does an amazing job as our production director. Yeah. This is not adding at him at all, but I know that to get to the next step, I just know hey, this is going to help with our engagement. Yeah. So and
we have to provide that tool for him.
Exactly.
He can't do what he can't do if he doesn't have the right tools.
And we want to differentiate ourselves between other things. We want people to be like, oh, I can't miss this.
Yeah.
I want people,
Let me define something, because you used the word product 2 times, and I don't want people to get offended by that word. It just is a way of talking about what's your experience that you are bringing.
Your presentation.
Online. What is your experience?
Exactly.
And that's all we mean. That's all he means by product.
Right.
And what is your experience? Because there's plenty that are not good. Mm-hmm. Right, and
it might hurt
we
you.
know that.
And that hurts you.
We brought experiences that were not good. I didn't even want to listen to it, and I love this place.
I know
it's true.
It's not a reflection
we need
of the
to
band
fast
either.
forward this, and it wasn't even the people up doing it.
No,
it was because the tools we were using were so poor that it sounded terrible.
Right.
That's not the people up front's problem. It was a tech issue.
And we didn't know that.
And until we solved that tech issue, we shouldn't be putting that out.
Right.
That is not a good thing.
No.
And so we had to solve that.
We had to solve that problem.
And I think this is the real that you have to deal with if you're going to talk about presenting yourself online.
Right.
And you're going to bring your experience. You want to make sure that it's not distracting.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's, as a speaker, I can do things that are distracting to people, and the message doesn't get through.
Right.
Well, That's why we have a sound man to turn the volume up. That's why they're not sweating bullets when it's 110 degrees outside, because we have an air conditioner. Why? Because we've taken the distraction away.
Exactly.
We do this all the time. Now we're just trying to help understand distractions in an online environment.
Platform,
Yeah.
I think I just think some of the things when you say, what do we don't know? When we dove into this, obviously, you had come to me and said, "Hey, I want you to oversee this online church."
Yeah.
And I'm not your typical young millennial who's all into tech stuff and online stuff. I had a lot to learn, and I'm learning. I'm not illiterate. I get it, but so it doesn't matter who you are or your age, because I've talked to, there are some online directors who this is their passion. They know all the ins and outs. And the common conversation that's being had is nobody has the secret sauce.
Right.
So don't think you can just go and copy what other people are doing. We don't know. You got to figure out what engagement works for
your people.
You and your people and your ability.
Yeah.
And so you don't know it, and so you just have to ask a lot of questions. But don't let that prevent you from risking and going all in when it comes to online church.
Right.
Because we went all in, and you just make adjustments.
Yeah.
And you don't know what you don't know. But then all of a sudden, you know it.
That's right.
And you shift and you make changes, and you can upgrade when you can upgrade, or you find out there's all kinds of things you can learn from online about how to present yourself. We had to learn what we didn't know when we first went online was, well, you address the audience differently when you're speaking to a camera, when you're speaking to the people live. So we didn't know that. Just know that there's going to be a long list of things you don't know.
Yeah.
Write them down, search it out, do your best, and then make those adjustments. Because if you go off of what you don't know versus what you know, you won't ever do it.
Right.
Because our list is 5 times longer on the what we don't know still after 3 years versus what we know. And what we know has come from trial and error.
That's right. That's right.
Being very curious, asking questions. I am still asking questions of people on how are you consuming? Are you watching on an iPad? Are you how many people are watching with you? Are you with us live? Are you watching later in the week?
Right.
Yeah.
Those are things I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know when that's happening. So you find out. Don't get discouraged or freaked out by what you don't know.
Yeah.
There's an answer out there. There's a way forward. And eventually this thing will just become unique to you. That's the thing I've learned. Yeah. It's going to be unique to Heights Church.
Good.
It's going to be unique to whatever your church is in. It's going to be unique for you. No, there's no secret sauce. I can't meet with the person who from whatever church that's having an incredible online campus presence and engagement, and they write it all out. And I can't. It's not plug and play here. It's just not good.
It's not. So but as you talk about, there's 2 things there that I think are really interesting. Number one, you don't have to be a millennial that's all techie. That's not why I asked you to do it.
Right.
The reason I asked you to do it is because you have a pastor's heart.
Yes.
I didn't need a techie.
Right.
We needed a pastor to lead it.
Yeah.
Because that's the value that we see in this. Yep. So the tech is stuff you can learn, and we have other people who can help.
And I've recruited.
But the pastor's heart, that's not something I can find in everybody else. And so that's why. Yeah. But I would say that brings you down to the next thing, which is what's your strategy? Because you can make this online campus where you count 1 for 1, and we include our online attendance with our in-person attendance for our total altogether attendance, so that we are one community. Just like we would have 2 campuses in person, we would add those numbers together. Well, we do the same thing with our in-person and our online. We have analytics and how we choose how many views we count. There, we don't count all of them, but there's a certain number and this, that, and there. There's ways we go about it to make sure that we're counting people that are meaningfully with us. But with that being said, what's your strategy? Maybe it is to present your service in a great on-demand so that people can tap into it later. Maybe it's to be online campus live, and you're like us, you're all in that way, and you need a pastor to be there following up with people, or maybe you need a tech person who can just upload what you just recorded.
That's it.
Those are all valid questions.
Yeah.
What's your strategy?
Yeah.
And that is a question that you want to lean into. And I don't know that you're going to know the answer to that until you really see the possibilities first. And then you get to know a little bit more about your people, and what they're willing to do, because that's really how we leaned into it.
Yeah, it's 100%.
I mean, we had to learn some things first, and then we started
100%.
figuring out, here's the potential for us.
Have that strategy. What's our first step? We're going to go to on demand. Second step, okay, what's it going to take? Let's investigate online. What's it going to take for our online? To go live.
Right. With live hosts.
How do you cut in and, there's equipment for that.
Yeah, be able to pray with people online.
Yeah, there's
in a private room.
Wonderful platforms. There's free platforms we use.
Yeah, absolutely.
Multiple platforms, Facebook.
Yes. That's right.
I mean, we have Facebook, we have church online. Look, I'm blanking out. YouTube, which is an incredible tool. Second most used search engine on the internet is YouTube.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So you can go live. You can have on demand. It's endless.
Yeah.
So just have a strategy. Think it through. Gather people around you who might know if you don't know. Again, I appreciate that whole pastor's heart. That's what drives me, not the tech. That's what actually frustrates me. But guess what? I have brought people on my team. I brought some young millennials on my team.
Yeah.
And
they're happy to be a help.
Oh my God, they love it. That's where they are. And so they're all about it. And it's fun to see their excitement as they find a place to serve, and then they realize they get to be a part. That's the other secondary value, is that now you have a team of people who are excited about being a part of the team, a part of the church.
Right, part of the church.
Part of the church.
Where you serve there is valuable.
Right. And, as it pertains to just having to motivate people for a long, I was youth pastor, student ministries pastor for 25 plus years. And one of the things I realized about youth was that as an adult, students would, this is metaphorically, right? Students would go into places, and the best we can do as an adult to love on them and share Jesus, it was kind of to wait outside the doors of the places they go so that we could have conversation. Because the minute you go into where they are, they'll find a new place because they don't. Well, for me, the online church, I look at it this way. It's like, well, this is where people are. We know people are online. That's what we know.
And that's not going away.
That's not going away.
No.
So what I'm trying to figure, so I know that. So why I'm going to try to present something there for them where they already are, so they could be a part of the church, because the church is not confined. It's not just four walls and a steeple. It's beyond that. And what I'm trying to figure, what I don't know is how to best position the gospel to reach those who wouldn't come into those four walls at a steeple. And that's always going to be a thing. But man, do I love the stories. And when and it's just as God is so good as you find it, like trying to figure it out and you're not really sure, and then next thing you know, Cliff and Bonnie show up. Who have never been on our campus because she has immunity issues. It's not a COVID thing. And she's willing, and she's participating in the life of the church by donating supplies to an outreach thing we're doing for our schools in our district. And they come on campus for the first time, and I get hugs. And tears in their eyes. Because they're like, these are my pastors. And I remember saying, it was great, taking a look at the church. And I said, well, Bonnie, this is your church. And she goes, yeah, it really is. And
and they just represent many.
That's one of many right there.
Many people. And so
good.
So just don't be afraid of what you don't know.
Don't be afraid of what you don't know. And I think that's the big thing. This is a new frontier, which makes it super exciting to be a part of. And I just think if you bring a pastor's heart to the conversation, you're gonna look for the potentials. You're gonna see them.
We would do that in any other ministry as a
We
pastor.
would. We
It's
do
an
it all
obstacle.
the time. Yeah.
I got to figure out a way around or over or through,
Right.
so I can continue pushing the gospel through. I do want to say this. I don't felt like I should say this. If you're watching and you're even though you've watched, say, the last 2 podcasts and you're still just kind of, I don't know, go to our website, email me, let's have a conversation.
Yeah.
Because you may have more questions than we had answers for.
Right.
And I
Promise you have questions. Yes, right. We might be helpful.
So with that said, like, reach out, send me an email. I'm always available. I do the same thing. I'm not saying I've done. I have. I am continually doing that very thing with other churches, people who online, and I'm asking questions. I'm learning. We are learning together.
Yeah.
Because this is a new territory for so many, but worth it.
Yeah. And I would say too that it has changed over the last years.
Oh yeah.
Everybody went all in at first, and then you start seeing trends, and so it comes and goes as far as how people are engaging it. And right now, we have a really solid community, and so we definitely know it's got a great base to it. But that you have to keep asking questions of it and learning, because it does change, just like in person does.
Yeah.
Because people are not the same with in person as they were prior to all of this pandemic as well.
Yeah.
So we just got to keep being learners as pastors of all this.
Yeah.
So that's excellent. That's excellent. Well, I think the question too, and I know we don't have a lot of time left on this, but I think one of the pieces that we are still reaching out, and we're going to come back with our findings, is interviewing people. We're actually starting to do this now. Tim is interviewing people that are almost exclusively online and finding out what we can learn from them. We're just asking some simple questions. What is it that you like?
Yep.
What's distracting? How could we make it more engaging for you?
Do you have an idea?
Do you have an idea? Help us make it better.
Yeah.
And so that when they are online with us, which is a lot, that it's a really powerfully engaging experience.
That information is important because you'll start to see a pattern.
Yeah.
And you may even see a little something you can tweak to make it better. I asked that question of Bonnie and Cliff when they came in.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick.
It's excellent.
Yeah. So,
Ryan, do you have anything as we're wrapping this up?
No, I think for me as a worship pastor, like, you asked this question prior we were shooting this episode, like, how do I utilize online? Like, has it changed my leadership on stage?
How do you lead?
Yeah, I would say it does a lot. It changes a lot because I got to think clearly with, like, if I'm going to share like a verse, or if I'm going to, welcome people, like, I always look at the camera and say, hey, we're so glad for all of those have joined in online. It's good to see you.
Yeah.
I got to make sure the things I'm saying in the mic, they're clear. Yeah. It's well articulated. Because, again, I'm envisioning this, you're a family at home watching online, and, your kids are probably running around, but, you're trying to get the message out there clear without any distractions. So for me, I also, my heart and my desire is that we continue to capture what's happening in person, but also that it also translate online in a way that's like, makes you feel like you're right there.
Yeah. Like you're speaking right to them.
You're right there with us.
Yeah.
That's, so for me, like on a technical standpoint, for me, like, I'm always going to look to, okay, what can we do to take this to the next level? Right. And that's why you're the online pastor. You have the shepherd's heart in this. For me, I'm looking at my team. We're going over camera shots. We're going over audio. And it's actually good because I can give feedback to my players.
Yeah.
I can watch the online stream, like, hey, let's make sure we hit that transition a little tighter this time. I know as we were all playing different chord progressions here. It's a tool. It really is. So, and also it also helps me look at myself on screen, which is weird. But like, it also like helps me, like, okay, when I'm leading people, I'm also trying to look right at the camera too.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do small things.
Right.
I know I can't address the online community every time, like, I say something.
Right.
But I want to be able to look in their direction and make it feel like, hey, I'm looking at you too. So,
That's right.
So just thinking differently
Yeah,
how do I lead on stage? What does my posture look like? What does my countenance look? How am I saying things? Yeah. I just have to think through that. So
yeah, no, it's really good. I agree. I'm glad you went there with that, because I do think when you're on stage and you have an online campus, you are making a few little tweaks here and there, but it's not significant things. I don't teach differently now than I used to because we have an online campus. What I am doing is just simply acknowledging that they're in the room with us.
Exactly.
And there's as many people online as there are in the room.
Which is kind of crazy.
It is kind of crazy. And so we let our people know that. We talk about it often, and sometimes we'll applaud and just like, hey, welcome to everybody online.
Yep.
Because we want our congregation to get used to understanding that it's both.
Yep. Right.
And so there's that aspect. So we acknowledge them. We don't act like they're not there. You've got cameras in the room. You have people that are on stage walking around during the worship time. Not the message, because we don't need it for that, but getting different angle shots. Everybody's used to it at this point. It's not weird. In fact, it'd be weird if we got rid of it now. It would be. You'd feel like, wow, we just let go of a huge potential, a huge outreach, and so that it's just part of who we are at this point.
Exactly.
And it feels so natural. But we engage the crowd. We say welcome to us. We call them out. And we also drop links. We talk about the links, click the link, when you're giving your heart to Christ, the prayer chat, or even talking back to us. They can do that in the chat. So we acknowledge them. And that really is most of the experience for us. Other than that, it's pretty much the same.
Yeah, and that's for our live.
And that's for the live. Because we do it live. So if you're not doing it live and you're just recording that and putting that up for later, you don't have to do those things. Yeah. So good stuff there. I'm glad you went there, Ryan, as we're wrapping up today. Well, thank you too. I know we still haven't talked about all of it, but
there's still a lot.
You know what? We've made a lot of headway, and I think we have helped people to get a little more clarity about online campus, online church, or some sort of an on-demand feature so that your messages, your church experience can go further and have a bigger impact. And so hopefully this has been really, really helpful as we're having real conversations about leading people, organization, and change. If you like this episode, and I know you did, hit the like button, subscribe button, and the bell notification so you don't miss one episode. And please refer us to a friend, because that's how we get the word out. And that's why we're doing this, so we can be a help to your church. And so until next time, in real time.